Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Monkey D. Dragon has a great deal of knowledge about the past, and he's been fighting for a cause in which only he truly knows the purpose of. And throughout his life, he's been fighting for freedom, a freedom that only a specific deity can bring to the world. The deity called Nika, or the Sun God, or God of the Sun, is the only being truly capable of restoring peace to the world, freeing all those who have been oppressed and enslaved by those in power. And this search for Nika may have caused the tattoo that Dragon has on his face. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the reasons that led Dragon to get the tattoo on his face that became a symbol of this character, and what his tattoo may in fact represent. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like, or even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out, especially with that YouTube algorithm, and it motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, at the age of 33 years old, Dragon had a group called the Warriors of Freedom. Now we don't know what the purposes of this organization was, but while Dragon still belonged to the group, he was in fact the leader. At the time we were given this revelation, Dragon didn't have his trademark tattoo currently on his face. And this was after he saw the destruction that had occurred in Ohara, with all the lives and information about the lost century having been lost and thought to be destroyed. So Dragon decided to create a new group with a new purpose. The new group that he formed is what we now know as the Revolutionary Army, and it now has a completely changed objective, because with this new group, Dragon intends to destroy and bring down the world government and all of the allies that help support its tyranny around the world. Building on the allies who had participated in the Warriors of Freedom group, Dragon reformulated this group into the so-called Revolutionary Army, and he started to invite additional people to join his group. In his early days of recruitment, he even tried to recruit Dr. Vegapunk, because as they watched the destruction that had transpired in Ohara, and watching all the giants taking the books out of a lake and taking them to Elbaf, the scientist unfortunately declined the invitation because of Dragon's lack of monetary funds to take advantage and further his scientific research. Dr. Vegapunk also saw that although he agreed with Dragon's aims, he felt that he could work from within the world government to help bring it down in his own way. During the same year in which the destruction of Ohara had occurred, Dragon ended up joining forces with Emporio Ivankov and Bartholomew Kuma to establish the Revolutionary Army. And since that day that Dragon formed the Revolutionaries, he got a tattoo on his face. Many around the community have thought that this tattoo was just something to characterize Dragon, or perhaps was related to some great power that he may eventually possess. However, this tattoo could also mean something more, a promise, or even a pact with some deity. A deity that we may in fact know as Nika, the Sun God, person known to be the liberator, bringing hope and happiness to the hearts of all the races and people around the world, being a deity with his name erased from history by the world government. However, through all the texts that contain the research about the lost century and the ancient kingdom that the archaeologists from Ohara were able to discover through those in the poneglyphs, Dragon and perhaps even Vegapunk, who are longtime allies, may have managed to uncover much more of the mysteries about these events and ancient times. Through their research, they may have even stumbled upon clues about Nika and their possible connection with Joy Boy, and upon finding out about Nika's existence and the possibility that Joy Boy could return to this era, Dragon began to follow Joy Boy's path, freeing people who had had it taken away and inviting them to fight and join his cause for freedom for all. That tattoo on his face could have been a promise that he made in the past, along with freeing the people just like Nika, because the promises that are made in One Piece are cherished and have very important meaning throughout our story. In fact, throughout the work of One Piece, we've already seen a couple different types of promises. For example, when Luffy cut under his eye during his childhood, proving that he would never be weak and trying to demonstrate his toughness to Shanks. Another promise was made when Shanks gave his straw hat to Luffy as a promise, and that when Luffy achieves his goal of becoming a great pirate, and only after he had become king of the pirates, would he return the straw hat to his red-haired mentor. We've also seen Zoro promise Luffy, after being humiliated and defeated by Mihawk, that he would never lose to anyone again until he achieved his own dream, becoming the greatest swordsman in the world. Even Ace had promised Luffy something, which ended up being broken during the Marineford arc, because he had promised that he would never lose his life and that he would always be alive to see Luffy's goal come true during his own journey. So as we can see, the remarkable promises throughout the One Piece story are made through various forms, whether it be a scar, an object, or even a life debt, having many ways of fulfilling a promise in which it has great and deep importance for the people involved. So then it's not hard to to imagine that Dragon could have gotten the tattoo on his face as a promise for his own goal to change the world and freeing the people, destroying the world government, as well as Nika and Joy Boy had tried in the past. A few years after creating the Revolutionary Army, we saw in a flashback that Dragon, for the first time, he had the tattoo on his face during the Revolutionaries' mission. Now, the mission was to save the people of the Grey Terminal from the fire that the nobles of the Kingdom of Goa had created to destroy the garbage before the next visit from the world noble Jalmak. After the secret rescue mission was completed, the Revolutionary Army docked at Shimotsuki Village for a period of recovery, and the Isshin Dojo assisted with the provisions and supplies for the injured residents from Grey Terminal. We are then shown Dragon's face aboard his ship, being scolded by Ivankov for being late, in which Dragon had quickly changed his plans and had decided to save Sabo's life and further recruit him into the Revolutionary Army, offering the injured little boy care and attention and food to help him survive. As these events unfolded, Dragon watched over East Blue, the place where he was born and the very place where his son, Monkey D. Luffy, lived, as he prepared for his own goal of becoming the king of the pirates. Since that time, Dragon has been waiting for Joy Boy to reappear and waiting for his son Luffy to start sailing the sea. So after many years, Luffy finally set out to sea, which caught his own father's attention. Luffy quickly managed to obtain his first bounty, and upon learning that his son was venturing across the seas, Dragon resolved to observe closely how strong and determined he had become. Then, during the events in Logtown, Dragon saved his son Luffy's life and watched him even closer. However, Luffy was never able to see his father or even identify the person that had helped him because he had never heard of him. Now, it seems during this first meeting between Dragon and Luffy that the leader of the revolutionaries could not identify that Luffy had in fact carried the Nika Nika fruit. He only wanted to observe his son, help him briefly during this event. Since then, Dragon has observed his son's actions from afar, avoiding seeing Luffy in person so that the people would never know that Dragon was ever related to him, because that would put Luffy's life in even greater danger. However, during the Battle of the Marineford, that all changed because the truth about Luffy, Garp, and Dragon's parentage was revealed, and in this way, the whole world found out that these three characters are a family, making Luffy all the more dangerous in the eyes of the world government, the Navy, and especially Akainu. Since his time in Marineford, Dragon avoided being close to Luffy as much as possible, as both became all the more dangerous. Because if Dragon ever crossed paths with Luffy, this would make this encounter become something dangerous for the both of them. Besides, Dragon didn't really show any interest in meeting Luffy, at least not then. Although he did care for his son quite a lot, Dragon just didn't want to see him yet, and rather decided to watch his deeds from afar. During these times of observation, Dragon watched his son and watched him build his goals and his crew, and Dragon further developed the revolutionary organization. And all the while, he was waiting for Joy Boy to return so that together they could complete their final goal. When Luffy managed to awaken his fruit and awaken the sun god Nika lying dormant inside his own devil fruit, thus becoming the new Joy Boy of this era, this was seen by many clans and groups around the world that the one who would free the world had finally returned, and Dragon can now begin to build up a much greater interest in reconnecting with his son again. Currently in the One Piece manga, it's not quite clear whether Dragon knows that Luffy has become the Joy Boy of this era. In fact, the only ones who know that Luffy is currently Joy Boy are Momonosuke, Zunisha, Yamato, Luffy, and possibly the Gorosei, and if he's still alive, Kaido. So while Dragon might know about Joy Boy, that doesn't mean that he knows about Luffy becoming, because Nika's appearance is something that hasn't been seen or spoken about for over 800 years, because that was when the last Joy Boy existed. After all, with the former Joy Boy losing his life, and then the Nika Nika fruit being forgotten for centuries, this is something that may not have ever been documented in the ancient writings that Ohara uncovered. Another point that might further support the idea that Dragon doesn't know yet is that he isn't really showing any concern about it. In fact, right now, Dragon is trying to find a way to save Sabo and find out what Kuma is up to. So Dragon's current priority is solving these two difficult questions, which involve two entirely different locations. However, there are two ways in which Dragon could discover that Luffy is the one that he's been waiting so long for. The first being through Kuma, and we also know that Shaka and even Vegapunk talk constantly. With Kuma on his way to Egghead Island to help out in the conflict taking place, Vegapunk will be able to inform Dragon that Kuma is on his island helping them, causing Dragon to go to the island to rescue him. Or perhaps it could be Kuma that might inform Dragon about everything he sees during the confrontation on Egghead Island, revealing to him the new transformation that Luffy obtained, his Gear 5th. And in this way, Dragon will be able to come to the conclusion of this new transformation is the form of Nika, and that Luffy has become the new Joy Boy. One other possibility that exists is that Luffy could actually go to try and save Sabo, and if he were to go save Sabo, he may end up using his Gear 5th to do so. When Sabo goes back to the revolutionaries, he would then pass on this very important information to Dragon. So when you think about it, there's quite a few possibilities where Dragon could discover that Luffy has Nika's power and has become the new Joy Boy. So we'll then hopefully see these two cooperating to succeed in bringing down the world government together as father and son, and thus finally revealing the meaning of that tattoo and promise on his face. But with all that said, my friends, we'd love to know what you think about it now. First off, do you think Dragon knows that Luffy is the next Joy Boy? Or could he have in fact learned about it when he sees Luffy's new bounty poster? Because after all, the picture being shown is Luffy in Gear 5th. Or rather, do you think nobody knows what Nika looks like because that information could have been lost to time? And aside from what we've presented here, what do you think the tattoo on Dragon's face means? After all, he did have that symbol on him in the flashback we saw where he was on O'Hara talking with Vegapunk. So is it something that's just a symbol or something about freedom? Or do you, like us, think that it is connected to the Ancient Kingdom, the Liberation, and Joy Boy? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So as we bring our video to a close, I'd like to thank all of you so much for watching the video, especially those of you who are still here at the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I really hope to see you all in our next video. Let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.